Hello everyone, you are watching my YouTube channel Pharmacy Lessons Made Easy. The topic for today's video is an interesting pharmacy fact. The interesting pharmacy fact is that the inventor of Coke, Dr. John Pemberton, was a pharmacist. Hope you enjoyed this fact. Don't you think it's interesting? Let's find out the details of it. Actually, the story starts here. Dr. John Pemberton was experimenting with chemicals and various ingredients and boiled them into the Coca-Cola syrup. He introduced it to Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta, where they mixed it with carbonated water and sold it for 5 cents a glass. It was Dr. Pemberton's bookkeeper's idea to call it Coca-Cola, and it was he who wrote the unmistakable logo with his own handwriting. You can easily see that how this soda water and other carbonated beverage, they were mixed, and this intellectual beverage and temperament drink contain the valuable tonic and nerve stimulator property of coca plant and cola nuts, and makes not only a delicious, exhilarating, refreshing and invigilator beverage dispensed from the soda water fountain or in other carbonated beverage, but a valuable brain tonic and a cure for all the nervous affections, sick, headache, neuralgia, hysteria, melancholy, etc. And the peculiar flavor of Coca-Cola delight every palate. It's dispensed from the soda fountain in the same manner as any of the fruit syrup. These were the words of JJ, that is John Pemberton, the chemist, the sole proprietor in Atlanta. Moving forward, this is the story from 1897 to 1905, how the taste and flavor was tonifying the brains of humans. Now the story is how the bottling evolved. The Coca-Cola originated as soda fountain beverage, and it was done in 1886, right? At that time it was being sold for 5 cents a glass. Early growth was impressive, but it was only when a strong bottling system developed that Coca-Cola became the world famous brand as it is today. A modest start for bold idea came in 1894 actually, in a candy store in Vicksburg, Mississippi. The brisk sale of new fountain beverage called Coca-Cola impressed the store's owner Joseph. He began bottling Coca-Cola to sell using a common glass bottle that was called Hutchinson at that time. Biderman sent a case to Asa Griggs Candler, who owned the company. Candler thanked him but took no action. One of his nephew already has urged that Coca-Cola can be bottled, but Candler focused on fountain sales only. Then the first bottling agreement was done in 1899. Two young attorneys from Chattanooga, they believed that they could build a business around bottling of Coca-Cola. In a meeting with Candler, Benjamin F. Thomas and Joseph B. Whitehead obtained exclusive right to bottle Coca-Cola across most of the United States, specifically that exclude Vicksburg, from the sum of $1. A third Chattanooga lawyer, John T. Lupton, soon joined their venture. Then the rapid growth time period was from 1900 to 1909 more specifically. The three pioneer bottlers divided the country into territories and sold bottling rights to local entrepreneurs. Their efforts were boosted by main progresses in bottling technology, which improved efficiency and product quality. By 1909, nearly 400 Coca-Cola bottling plants were operating, most of them family owned business. Some were open only during hot weather months when demand was high. Then, in the year 1916, it is also called the birth of contour bottles. Bottler worried that the straight-sided bottle for Coca-Cola was easily confused with imitators. A group representing the company and bottlers asked glass manufacturers to offer idea for distinctive bottles. A design from Root Glass Company of Terre Haute, Indiana, won enthusiastic approval in 1915 and was introduced in 1916. The contour bottle became one of the few packages over granted trademark status by the US Patent Office. Today, it is one of the most recognized icon in the world, even in the dark. In 1920s, the bottling overtakes fountain sales, and as the 1920 dawned, more than 1,000 Coca-Cola bottlers were operating in the US. Their ideas and zeal fueled steady growth. 6 bottle cartons were a huge hit after their 1923 introduction. A few years later, open-top metal coolers became the fortuners of automated vending machines. By the end of 1920, bottle sales of Coca-Cola exceeded fountain sales. From 1920 to 30, it was international expansion of the bottling system. It was led by Longman Time Company leader Robert Woodruff, Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of the board. The company began a major push to establish bottling operation outside the US. Plants were open in France, Guatemala, Mexico, Belgium, Italy, Peru, Spain, Australia and South Africa. By the time World War II began, Coca-Cola was being bottled in 44 countries. Seems amazing, right? Now, post 1940, during the war, 64 bottling plants were set up around the world to supply the troops. This followed an urgent request for bottling equipment and materials from base in the North Africa. Many of these wartime plants were later converted to civilian use, permanently enlarging the bottling system, and that accelerated the growth of companies' worldwide business. Packaging innovations were done in 1950s. For the first time, consumers had choice of Coca-Cola package size and type. The traditional 6.5 ounce contour bottle or larger serving including 10, 12 and 26 ounce versions. Cans were also introduced, becoming generally available in 1960s. In 1960s, new brands were introduced following Fanta in 1950s, Sprite, Minute Maid, Fresca. They joined the brand Coca-Cola in 1960. Mr. Pibb and Mellow Yellow were added in 1970. The 1980s brought Diet Coke and Cherry Coke, followed by Powerade and Dasani in 1990. Today, hundreds of other brands are offered to meet consumers' preference in the local market around the world by Coca-Cola. In the decade 1970s and 80s, consolidation to serve customers was done. As technology led to global economy, the retailer who sold Coca-Cola merged and evolved into international mega chains. Such customers required a new approach. In response, many small and medium-sized bottlers consolidated to better serve giant international customers. The company encouraged and invested in a number of bottler consolidations and assured that its largest bottling partners would have capacity to lead the system in working with global retailers. New and growing markets emerged in 1990s. The political and economical changes opened vast market and that was closed or underdeveloped for decades. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, the company invested heavily to build plants in Eastern Europe, and as the century closed, more than 1.5 million dollars was committed to new bottling facilities in Africa. Now, if we talk about 21st century, the Coca-Cola bottling system grew up with roots deeply planted in local communities. This heritage serves the company well today as people seek brands that honor local identity and the distinctiveness of local markets. As was true a century ago, strong locally based relationships between Coca-Cola bottlers, customers and communities are the foundation on which entire business grows. Moving forward, you'll be surprised to note that Dr. John S. Pemberton, who invented Coca-Cola in 1886, the Pemberton place is named in his honor, right? This is the logo of it. Now let's talk about the logos. The story of logo is the Coca-Cola logo. When we see it, we all know, but the changes in logo has seen. Oh, if logos could talk, it has not always looked exactly as it does now, as this slide will explain the upbringing of the logos with time, starting from 1886 to 1900s, 1940s, 50s, 60s, 85, 87, 1990, 2000, 2009 onwards to till date. So in 1886, what is in a name? John S. Pemberton. It finalized the formula for his new drink, and his partner Frank M. Robinson suggested the name Coca-Cola, believing that the two C's would look well in advertising. He experiments with writing the company's name in Spencerian script. A popular writing style came back then. In 1870s to 1890s, inserting the trademark C was added to the tail of the first C. In 1890s to 91, extra swirls was also tried, and they thought that for 1 year only our logo gets a dramatic swirly makeover. In 1940s to 60s, tail tweak. The trademark registered move out of the tail of C, and the trademark is noted below the logo instead of inside it. In 60s, a fishy shape fishtail logo, acriform, was introduced. In 1970s or 69 era, that white wave was introduced. The Arden Square logo is uneven. In a red box, the Coca-Cola script is underlined with a white wave or dynamic ribbon device. This is still used today. In 2000s, especially or more specifically in 2003, keeping it real, as a part of Coca-Cola Real campaign, the white wave is enhanced with a shock of yellow and some bubbles. In 2007, a classic design, a simple, bold approach with a single white ribbon was used. 2011 year was celebrated as 125 years of happiness. It's Coca-Cola's 125th birthday logo. It sees bubbles bursting from contour bottle, a celebration of past, present and future. 2013 or 14, it's the era where your name can be in the classic font, right? So this is how the logos changed with time. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you all like this video. Please click on the like button below this video. Do subscribe to my channel and share it on social media. Thank you very much.